Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste everyone and welcome to today's session on the Ishopanishad. So today is the third lecture on Ishopanishad, and I hope you are finding the Upanishad interesting because it is that part of the Shukla Yajurved which deals exclusively with self-knowledge. And last class we have been discussing how the self, the Atman, the unit of pure consciousness, which you are, which is your real identity, that is being discussed, described, defined. So this makes for a very interesting study because as long as you can relate the Upanishad to your own true being, to that extent you will find it interesting and appealing. And repeatedly they are going to tell you the same thing, that your own real nature is pure awareness. The rest is superimposed on that awareness. Check and see in your own experience if this is true or not. You are always fundamentally aware. In that awareness, through a thought process, you identify with something. Then you assume that identity to be primary. This is the whole mistake, the error, the adhyas which we make. But our experience of ourselves at any given point of time is one of bare awareness before anything else starts. So if this much you are able to catch in the first person, then the Upanishad at once becomes very relevant, very appealing. It is talking of the truth about our being, our unchanging being. So today we are going to enter into the next few mantras. I will totally devote 4 classes to the Ishopanishad, and today is the third class of Ishavasya Upanishad. We will take up the 9th mantra. We have done till the 8th mantra. We will take up the 9th mantra today and proceed. So the 9th mantra tells us, Andham tama pravishanti ye avidyamupasate tato bhuya ivate tamo yau vidyayam rataha. Let's go word by word. Ye, those who avidyam upasate, those who worship avidya, ignorance, te andham tama pravishanti, they enter into blinding darkness, they enter into absolute tamas. But ye, those who vidyayam rata, those who are immersed in vidya, those who take delight in vidya, knowledge, te tata tama bhuya tama pravishanti iva, they enter into greater darkness, he is saying. Now what does this mean? So we have to try to understand what is the meaning of vidya here, because how can this be, isn't it? Those who worship avidya, ignorance, obviously they are entering into deep darkness. But those who worship vidya, knowledge, how can they enter into deeper darkness, greater darkness? So then we have to interpret this verse properly. We have to take the implied meaning. What are the meanings of avidya and vidya here? Now I want to make one thing clear initially. If you take up Ishopanishad, the commentary on Ishopanishad by anyone, there have been a number of commentators, you will find slightly different meanings. There are slight variations in this Upanishad. But I am going to take the standard meaning of Shankaracharya and from the book which is in your hands. So we are going to stick to some of these meanings, but we will also discuss a number of related ideas about these mantras. So here you see, when he is talking of avidya, he is talking of ignorance. So those who only worship ignorance, they enter into blinding darkness, obviously. But those who worship Vidya, and here by Vidya is meant, according to Shankaracharya, according to the commentators, it is meant just sticking to the ritual, the technique, and not penetrating into its essence, not realizing it, not bringing it into your system. Such people enter into deeper darkness. So you see, the exact etymological derivation of Vidya, Vidyate anena iti Vidya, which means that by which you know. Now when it comes to self-knowledge, that by which you enter into your own being, that is Vidya. Now if you are blindly following a ritual without it having its effect on your system, without internalizing it, without making the essential changes within yourself, in your mind, then it is nothing more than anything else. Such a ritual will not have much value to your life unless it is transforming you, transforming your consciousness. So then, such blind following of a technique or ritual will only lead you into greater darkness. But if you follow it as it should be done, because any technique, ultimately what does it result in? It results in a transformation of your consciousness. Please check out and see if this is happening. Whether you do puja, whether you do japa, whether you do whatever spiritual practice, ultimately is it transforming your mind? Is it bringing in more awareness? Is it raising your vital energy and unfolding awareness? If not, well, what's the use? What's the point? So this is what they are telling us. That is Vidya, which leads you into light, which leads you, here by light is meant awareness, pure awareness. The metaphor used for awareness is always light. So if this is not happening, then that Vidya is of no use to you. Mechanically following some particular technique which leads nowhere. You know, many people get alienated from real life by mechanically following something. So spiritual life is not obstinately sticking to something. It is intelligently making sure that your technique transforms you. An enlightened way of approaching these techniques is like that. So this is what is being meant here. That is why he is saying, take care. Your Vidya should lead you to the ultimate. Otherwise, you know, even in your workplace, you might have seen this. There are people who blindly stick to certain things and are very, very obsessive or obstinate about it. They are called micromanagers. They may be doing something which is absolutely unnecessary and not transforming in effect. So take care of this, they are telling us. Make sure your Vidya, the technique you are adopting, takes you towards the highest. Shankaracharya in his commentaries also keeps alternating between the path of karma and the path of jnana, knowledge. And he always contrasts the two. So this also you will find in the commentary, that a mere ritualistic way of observing things will not take you very far. Ultimately, you have to bring in the transforming power of knowledge. This is what is meant by the mantra. You will find such interpretations. I told you many commentators have given different interpretations for these mantras. So, on the whole, this is what it means. Make sure your technique transforms you. Ultimately, you know, in spiritual life, those who lead it intensely, the very process, the very technique you are adopting, it is a tool for self-transformation. What does it do? Any tool, any technique, it will change the nature of your mind. It will calm the mind, it will declutter the mind, it will generate very specific, beautiful sanskars in your mind. It will liberate the mind from compulsive drives, from impulsive thinking, from all these. It's a small form of liberation. If it is not doing that, you must check and see if you are following the technique properly. That is why all of these techniques, whether yogic or Vedantic, they are means to the final liberation, which means awakening into pure awareness. So make sure that your technique transforms you. That's the message. Now, in the next mantra, please go to mantra number 10. Anyadevahur vidyaya anyadahura vidyaya iti shushruma dhiranam yenastadvicha chakshire. Look at the meaning. Vidyaya, by vidya, anyat, a different result is got. Ahu, so it is said. Avidyaya, through avidya, you get a different result altogether. Anyat, eva ahu. Iti dhiranam, thus say the wise, shushruma, and we have heard it this way. Yena tat vicha chakshire, because this has been explained in this manner to us. So what are they trying to say? The result of vidya is different, the result of avidya is different. And this is how the wise see it. The result of avidya, ignorance, of course we know it. It leads to nowhere, it leads to blinding darkness. But even vidya can cause this problem if you don't handle the tool carefully, the tool in your hands, the means for higher knowledge. So this is pretty obvious, isn't it? Now look at the next mantra. They are all connected, so I am going a little fast. Look at the 11th mantra. It says, Vidyamcha yastad vedo bhayam saha ubhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritam ashnute. Here, who vidyamcha avidyamcha, vidya and avidya, ubhayam, both, one who takes it together, practices together, he knows. Veda avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritam ashnute. He overcomes, or you can say, he knows the nature of immortals through vidya and he conquers death through avidya. So now, the slightly different interpretation again of this mantra is, it is also said that he goes to the world of manes, the Pitrulok through avidya, and he goes to the world of gods, the lesser gods. This is not the ultimate liberation, but the lesser gods through vidya. What they mean to say is, what you are calling vidya and avidya, it is nothing but of this world, of the manifested world. So they actually go together. Life by its very nature has this duality, isn't it? You can't remove one and take the other. You can minimize one, maximize the other, but you cannot obliterate one and take just the other. So one who can maturely see both of this, he will get the results or the fruits of that accordingly. What is the fruit of vidya? He is supposed to get the nature of the gods, or it's a small form of immortality, you can say. He gets to the world of the gods, and by having conquered avidya, he conquers death. He goes to the Pitrulok, he gets to the world of the manes. So this was the understanding at that time, that as per your karma, as per the nature of your mind, you are further going to progress after the fall of the body. So one who has merely done ignorant things will at the most go to the world of the manes, Pitrulok jo kehte hain. And one who has done good, who has brought in the sanskars of vidya into his life, he goes to a higher realm, he goes to the world of gods. So both of these are to be considered. Both will come into your life, vidya and avidya. Which one do you choose and which one do you optimize in your everyday life, in your dealing with others, in your personal philosophy of life? Which one do you adopt? That will ultimately determine your fate after the fall of the body. This is how they are seeing it. Now here I would also like to mention, see, you remember Sri Ramakrishna used to give this very beautiful example. He used to say that, zero has no value in itself. But if you add 1 before the 0, if you put a 1 before the 0, at once that 0 gets value, isn't it? So then in fact you can add as many zeros as you want after that, and the value goes on increasing. So 10, 100, 1000, then lakh. The value goes on increasing because there is this one behind the zero. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, God, Brahman is that one. And this world of manifestation are those zeros. They will get some value if you place that one. See, this is so true if you just check your system. Unless you awaken to the depths of your being, everything will keep pricking you in life. Have you seen this? Isn't this true? Your own mind, when it doesn't find its foundation, its base, its substratum, it will keep pricking you. And so also will all the things you have gathered around you, your very relationships which you made in order to remain happy and peaceful, they will become a problem to you unless you discover that one. Unless you become deeply conscious and aware within yourself, then only you get the capacity to handle your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, and through that, the world around you. So everything will pose as a problem unless you have awakened to the depths of your being. Check and see if this is true or not. Most of the problems which we create, the mind will always tell you, oh, that person is the problem. That boss is the problem. This particular thing is the problem. Check and see it's your inability to handle that person or your boss or the thing that is the problem. But your mind will never give you this solution. So this you have to understand from the Upanishad. This is what they are trying to tell you. Unless you have learned to handle yourself properly by awakening to the depths of your being, you can't handle the mind otherwise. Please check this out and see if this is true or not. I'm making very general statements, but check this out in your life and see if this is true or not. You can't handle your thoughts if you are not deeply aware. Find out if this is true or not. When you are deeply aware, you can handle every thought and direct it as you want it. So then nobody on the outside has any power to affect you. So this one ability we should be able to manufacture in this life. It's so very important that I am deeply stable within myself because I have awakened to my true being. I have become deeply conscious from within. The closer you go to consciousness, to the Atman, the more conscious you will become. So then mind management becomes very easy. That is why world management becomes easy. Otherwise, if you start from the outside, you finally go nowhere. So this is actually the message of this, what they are telling us. That both the manifested and the unmanifested, both Vidya and Avidya are to be taken into consideration, and the effects of both are different. But you should be able to manage this whole thing, this whole show, maturely from within yourself. And one who does this, one who gains the true Vidya sanskars by this understanding will go into the higher realm after death. So, Vivekananda has commented something very beautifully on this, which I would like to read out to you here. Practically speaking, what do these ideas practically reduce to? Swamiji has, in the Complete Works, Volume 2, you will find this beautiful observation by Vivekananda. Just hear it. If a man plunges headlong into foolish luxuries of the world without knowing the truth, he has missed his footing. He cannot reach the goal. And if he curses the world, goes into a forest, mortifies his flesh, and kills himself little by starvation, making his heart a barren waste, kills out all feeling, and becomes harsh, stern, and dried up, that man has also missed the way. These are the two extremes, the two mistakes at either end. Both have lost the way, both have missed the goal. So says the Vedant, putting God in everything. Vivekananda did deliver a talk on Ishopanishad, on the theme of the Ishopanishad in London in 1896. The title of the talk, the lecture was God in Everything. So there he says, so work, says Vedanta, putting God in everything and knowing Him to be everything. Work incessantly, holding life as something deified, as God Himself. God is in everything, where else shall we go to find Him? He is already in every work, in every thought, in every feeling. Thus, knowing we must work, this is the only way, there is no other. So you can't curse the world and run away somewhere. The world will follow you because your mind, the world is a reflection in your mind. As long as that is active, you will have the world with you. So then you actually cannot run away anywhere, but learn to develop from within. Learn to get this self-knowledge and train the mind in such a way so that you are able to take everything into your stride. You are able to give everything the place it deserves in your life. So this is actually the meaning of these verses. Why did Swamiji say, there is God in everything, you are unable to see Him? Because the Kena Upanishad is going to give you this message. Later on we will be studying that. Pratibodha viditam matam, in every thought, in every modification of your mind, the self is reflected. That is why that modification is taking place. But you are so interested in the content of that thought that you miss out the awareness that is making the thought shine. So this, put your attention on this, and the very modification can be according to your will. Oh, this is a tremendous message of Vedanta. You cannot run away from anything, actually speaking, because wherever you go, your mind will go with you. So try to see God in everything. This is the meaning of the opening verse of the Ishopanisha Upanishad, isn't it? What is the opening verse which we studied? That God is everything. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Whatever is changeful in this universe, wrap it up with the Lord. Because it is in awareness that anything happens. God is ever present everywhere. You and I are not able to see Him, that's our problem. But He is never absent. So then, bring Him in. Wrap it up with the Lord means this. Bring in this knowledge, this level of knowledge. That is why you see, Vidya and Avidya are to be taken together. The world of manifestation is not an absolute unreality in that sense. You are seeing reality as that. You are seeing the name and form rather than the actual content of it. So this is the recurring theme in the Upanishads, the recurring idea that God or Brahman is there everywhere, ever present, never absent, and shining through everything. But you are seeing only the name and form because your mind is structured like that. It's functioning in a particular way. Through this knowledge, change this. Then you will see you are perfectly at peace with both Vidya and Avidya, and you use them as you want. You are able to see God in everything. So this is actually the message of this mantra. That is why I always insist you must read Ramakrishna Vivekananda literature. You may be reading the Upanishads. You may be highly interested in all these scriptures. There are some people who begin straight from the Brahma Sutras. No. You must begin from the lives of realized people. Begin from the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Begin from the works of Swami Vivekananda. So many things will become clear. They are actually speaking the words of the Upanishads in the modern idiom, as it will appeal to the modern mind. Otherwise, some of these verses can be mantras can be confusing. Isn't it? We saw it just now. So these are the deeper meanings. You cannot run away from anything of this manifested world, but you can see it as it is in reality by transforming your own mind. And this is what is called for. This is the meaning of going after Vidya. This is the meaning of true knowledge. So then even the next few mantras which are given here, the next 3 mantras are similar in effect. Please notice it. It is, let's go to the 12th mantra. Andham tama pravishanti ye asambhutim upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo yau sambhutyagam rata. Now what's the meaning of this? You see, ye who upasate asambhutim. See, now you must understand the words sambhutim and asambhutim here. Sambhutim is that which is manifested. It comes from bhut dhatu, to become, that which is manifested. Asambhutim means that which is not manifested. Now these are both aspects of Prakriti, the unmanifest Prakriti and the manifest Prakriti. Manifest Prakriti, here it is also called Hiranyagarbha, another name is given to it, the cosmic manifestation. And Asambhuti is the unmanifested Prakriti. Now what they are telling here is, one who worships Asambhuti, the non-manifested, enters darkness. But ye sambhutyam rata, they enter greater tama, they enter into greater darkness. So you see, again this is a puzzle. What is the meaning of this mantra then? Obviously we can understand this much, that those who are worshipping the unmanifest may not find their way through it, they enter into darkness. But those who worship the manifested also are entering into darkness. What's the meaning? Greater darkness they are entering into. So then again we have to take the implied meanings of Sambhutim and Asambhuti. And the implied meaning is this. Sambhuti, I told you it means the world of manifestation. You actually worship that which manifests because it is perceptible to your senses, it is perceptible to your mind. And Asambhuti means that which is absolutely not perceptible to the senses, which is the unmanifest Prakriti. If you actually see Sankhya psychology, the table of Sankhya psychology, you can Google it and see it. You will see there, it is from this unmanifest Prakriti that everything has evolved. According to Sankhya, there is Purusha, Prakriti. These are the two realities. Sankhya is duality, a dual philosophy, two realities, and from this Prakriti, from this unmanifest Prakriti, everything has evolved. Mahat, Buddhi, Ahankar, then all the Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, everything, the 23 cosmic principles have evolved from the unmanifest Prakriti. Now what he is telling us here in this mantra is, these two, those who worship the unmanifest Prakriti may not be able to get any light out of it. They may enter darkness, but those who worship the manifest, they can enter into greater darkness. And the next mantra again, see we have to take these things together to understand the meaning. The next mantra, go to the 13th mantra, it says, Anyadevahu sambhavat anyadahura sambhavat iti shushrumadhiranam yenastadvicha chakshire, which means sambhavat, from the worship of Hiranyagarbha, anyat, there is a difference between the worship of that and the worship of asambhavat. There is a difference between worshipping the manifest and worshipping the unmanifest. Thus have we heard from those who have explained this to us, those seers who have explained this to us. What they are meaning to say is the results of worshipping the manifest and the unmanifest are different. Again, you see, same idea, just like Vidya and Avidya. So obviously they are different. Why are they different? Now Shankaracharya gives us the explanation that when you worship Asambhuti, the unmanifest, you may get absorbed in Prakriti. And when you worship Sambhuti, the manifest, you may at the most get what is very covetable for the undeveloped mind, the eightfold yogic powers, Anima, Garima, you might have heard of this. You become like a superhuman being who can manifest great powers. So at the most, this will be the result of these two. Now, what is the tatparya? What is the ultimate message of this? the ultimate message of this, you have to go to the next mantra. So go to the mantra number 14. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastad vedo bhayam saha vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutyam vritam ashnute. Again you see Sambhutim, Prakriti, cha vinasham cha, and the manifested Hiranyagarbha. Tat ubhayam, one who takes both, one who is able to understand both. He, what happens to him? He overcomes death through asambhutim and achieves immortality through sambhutim. One who is able to take both the manifest and the unmanifest together, and through the power of his sadhana realize them, he is able to overcome death through the knowledge of the unmanifest Prakriti and achieve immortality through the knowledge of the manifest Prakriti. Now what do you make out of this? See, this manifested world and the world of primordial Prakriti, which is unmanifest to us, how do we handle these? Those who have even a slightly thinking philosophical nature will try to understand the basic cause behind this world of manifestation. The basic cause, Sankhya tells us, is Prakriti. She is the divine mother from whom everything emerges. Now this manifested world, if you get entangled into it without knowledge of her, without knowledge of the unmanifest, it will take you away from truth. But if you try to understand it through her, if you try to understand it through the unmanifest Prakriti, through the realization of God, at once it will start making sense. Please remember this, the Upanishadic rishis never asked us to run away from life. I told you, you can't run away anywhere. You must learn to see life in its transparent, in its absolutely immaculate purity. It is Brahman itself manifested through name and form. So, Sambhutim and Asambhutim are both aspects of that same being. If you plunge headlong into the manifest, completely ignoring the unmanifest, well, that's a foolish mistake. You are seeing it, isn't it? You plunge headlong into the life of the senses. Party every day. In 3 days, you will start feeling sick. In 1 week, you will become very sick. So this is the nature of the human mind. A life lived in the senses alone can never bring any level of satisfaction. Then you start feel for something higher. So then you enter higher levels of happiness. Finally, you understand that there is a deep connection between awareness and my vitality. Then once you understand that, you are entering the realm of, the unmanifest Prakriti. So with this knowledge, then you will learn to handle your mind, manipulate your mind. You see, mind management is only possible when you have taken your stand on something unchanging within you. Then only you can handle the changing mind. So what is that point of non-change? It is that point where you are fully conscious. That's why I told you this entire thing has to be internalized. As long as you have kept it as a philosophy, as a thought construct, it is of the nature of avidya. Check and see within yourself in the first person if this is true. Through the medium of yoga, by stilling yourself, you will be able to find out the utter reality of these ideas. So then when you discover this point of changelessness right within you, you understand that's the vantage point from where you can handle change. And that is how you bring the world of the unmanifest and manifest together. And you are able to manipulate the world of manifestation. You know, you generate a powerful mind, practically speaking, which can achieve things. You will draw the best minds towards you. So you will be a natural achiever. Today's young people are constantly asking for the secret of success and achievement. The secret of success and achievement does not lie in, rushing headlong into the external. It lies fundamentally into changing the ways of your mind and bringing your mind into your hands. You develop such a powerful personality, the best will naturally be drawn to you. And that's the way to success. So these are the deeper meanings of these mantras which you see here. The world of manifestation, the world of the unmanifest are not in contradiction with each other. It's a seamless single reality. It appears manifest and unmanifest to you because of your gear, because of the way you are structured, because your senses are limited, so it considers the external as manifested and what you can't see as unmanifested. So understand, all is only Brahman in different forms under different names. And you will understand this and be able to handle it only if you turn inward. So you can see today, this concept is so much there in leadership, spiritual leadership. You develop your spiritual quotient to such an extent, your spiritual intelligence to such an extent, you are able to handle about anybody in your life. And you are perfectly able to handle the external situations of your life. You are able to manage your time, your energy. You don't suffer frustration and stress on a regular basis. This will be absent in you, which means you have learned to handle the world of manifestation. And without this, well, you know what the condition is, I don't have to tell you. So this is the practical meaning of these mantras. Learning to stand on your own feet, and by yourself you are able to get the highest experiences of life. Actually speaking, the Upanishad trains you towards this. If you ask me what is the message of the Upanishad, this Ishopanishad, I will tell you very simply, the message of the Ishopanishad is find the reality about yourself and learn to see that truth everywhere. You don't have to learn to see anything. If you find the truth that of your being, you will see it is the same manifested everywhere. So the opening verse, opening mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat, that is the actual message of the Ishopanishad. The world of Vidya and Avidya, manifestation and unmanifestations, Asambhutim and Sambhutim. All of this, why they are taking us through all this is to help you understand that, reality is not in chunks and departments separate from each other. It's one seamless reality taking different forms as per the nature of your mind. If you only change the nature of your mind, you will see things as they are. Just like how, well, we keep giving these examples, so many things you have made out of clay, so many things we have made out of wood, but essentially it is nothing but one form of wood, one form of clay. The pot and the ladle, in those days, this is how the utensils were. So you find this example constantly coming up in the Upanishad. The ladle or the pot or whatever you make out of clay, it is nothing but clay in a particular form, isn't it? So also in this world of manifestation, it is nothing but Brahman in a particular form. You have given all reality to the form, and that is why you don't see the background material at all. This is how they have learned to see the world of manifestation. The Rishi's great message, the message of the Upanishads was, you must learn to divinize life, not run away from it. See Brahman in this life, in this world of manifestation. Then you are a Rishi. The running away was only meant so that you get this perception. Wherever you want to run away, if it is to the Himalayas also, let me tell you, it is only to get this perception that everything is verily Isha vasamidam sarvam. So it is to divinize life, to actually see Brahman behind everything. That is the purpose of human life. Not to deny anything, not to remove anything, alienate anything. So later on we made all this into very strong ideas, but actually speaking, the Rishi's vision was this: Brahman is verily all that there is. In all that I see, the manifest, the unmanifest, the ignorance, the knowledge that I manifest, it's all Brahman. So the ability to get this unitary vision, finding God in everything. And if you see the lives of realized people, you will see this. They don't make these strong demarcations which we do, As in the time of sadhana, you require all this. But when you are in the state of siddhi, you see a unitary consciousness as the reality. So we will stop the discussion here, and next time we will take up the rest of the mantras. Let's go to the questions today. We have lots of questions. Are there any tips for teaching kids selflessness and not always think about themselves? Yes, you see, these are very practical questions, so I'm sure it applies to all of us. And these are the things which actually matter to you in your everyday life. See, how do you give this training to your children at home? The training of selflessness, whatever we are talking about. See, on an everyday basis, can you help your child perform at least one act of service to somebody without any demands, without any tags behind it? Can you help your kid do that? I have seen a number of our devotees do it. Like when the child is offered breakfast, something of that, or whatever is packed in his lunch box, something of that has to be shared with somebody, with his whatever classmate or whoever. So do you give this message to your children every day? Every day one act. When I was in school, I studied in a convent, and we had this common practice. We had to keep a diary in which we had to write what we did for others. At least one act of service we had to write every day, what selfless act you did for others. So suppose on some day you did not do, then you would have to do it and then write it. So then it becomes a habit. Life is one of selfless service alone, because you don't know how much you are taking from life. It's entirely an exchange, isn't it? The very air you breathe, the water that you drink, it's all coming from somewhere else. Did you manufacture the air? Did you manufacture the water? The food, the simple food that comes in front of you every day? How many people have worked for it? Are you thankful and grateful for that? No, you never acknowledge it. So these ways should change. For that, you must bring it into your homes. Every day, make your child perform one act of service, and he will learn selflessness by himself. He will know that that is the way of life. When lunch comes before the child, make sure he offers a prayer of thankfulness, gratefulness before he starts eating. Then tomorrow you will not have to tell him, "Arey, your life you must be more unselfish, you must learn to honor and respect others." You won't have to teach him all that. If today you put these foundation stones of habit, make him feel grateful, kind, prayerful for every little thing that comes into his house. When we were children, any new object you got, you had to place it before God first. Thank Him for it. And through Him, you bring it into your life. So these practices are very helpful in developing a beautiful mindset of kindness, gratefulness, and naturally selflessness will develop. These things are lacking in modern life. This is something which really pains us. A lot of today's youngsters spend their time on television or internet, and constant influx of violent messages and all kinds of pictures. So this is a very poor way of living life, and how can you expect great values? So bring these small things into their lives deliberately, especially when children, the younger the better, because they are very sensitive at that age, and your love can transform anything in the child's life. So with love, if you bring in all these small habits, it makes a huge difference. We even used to teach hostel children, when you get up in the morning, first bow down to some deity, some saint, somebody, so that you learn the value of respecting. And when you bow down to real greatness, you will know how not to bow down to cheapness. You don't have to teach them that naturally they will learn. When they learn to respect value, they will keep away from that which has no value by themselves. So these are the ways you inculcate sanskars. There's a lot we can talk about this, but there are many questions, so let me restrict myself to this. The second question is, are emotions like anger, etc. meant to be controlled? Of course. Should this be a question? If you don't control these emotions, they will control you and your very behavior. And of course, then the repercussions will come from the outside world. All of these negative emotions are to be controlled. That's the whole challenge. Not just controlled, finally purged, eradicated, if you want to really become a great divine personality. Otherwise, you try to just manipulate them, and that won't work. Especially in your workplace, you will see it will not work at all. The purer the mind, the more it is capable of. So make all this very clear to your mind right now. Mataji, there are many ways of meditation. Which one do you recommend? I recommend that meditation which brings you to a point of stillness within yourself. You will see your intelligence will catch fire once you reach that point of stillness. You will become super intelligent by yourself. So that meditation which brings you to that point of stillness is very important. It will help you grasp all of this by yourself. I have introduced 2 meditations on YouTube. You can please see them. One is a small 5-minute meditation, which I think is on Vivekananda channel. It has been taken from the IIT videos. So you can take it, practice that. It's just 5 minutes. And there's a longer one, 15 to 20-minute meditation on Yoga Vedant, which is there on Eternal Truth also. So please do these meditations on a regular basis. You will come to that point of stillness. Mataji, I get very anxious before my exams. How do I manage that to stay calm? So there are ways to manage this. I think you should watch the video Essentials of Mind Management, where 6 steps have been provided to calm down the mind. Essentials of Mind Management, it's on Eternal Truth also. So please watch this. You start by regulating your breathing, then you must generate deep inner calmness and the ability to replace thoughts so that the stress goes. So all this step by step, it's a guideline how to manage mind. And the most essential thing is, you see, this tendency to procrastinate and not do your work on time, that builds up your stress before exams. So be studious and be sincere, honest in your work. Today, if you are a good student, an honest student, tomorrow you will be good at whatever you do. Today only if you learn to compromise, then tomorrow you never know where your life will go. You must be very particular. Youth is the time to build life. Today the the foundation stones you lay, your whole life gets created on that. And the younger you are, the better. The training should start at the age of 3, 4 actually. But anyway, whatever age you are, please start it as soon as possible. Mind management is the essential thing. Are there any introductory texts which one should read before reading Upanishads? Yes. This is an important question. You see, it is important to read some of these auxiliary scriptures, what are called Prakarana Granthas, in order to grasp the spirit of the Upanishads. So there are many such Prakarana Granthas by Shankaracharya. You'll find like all this Drigdrishya Vivek, Vivek Chudamani, Aparokshanubhuti, Atma Bodh, Tattva Bodh, all these are introductory texts to Vedanta. It is very important to take up a few of these, dwell upon them, and then enter into the Upanishads. That is why in the past I covered Atma Bodh. Those lectures also I think are on YouTube on a channel called Nanak M. So you can go through some of them. It is important to start with an introductory text like this because it will give you the essence of self-knowledge quickly, and most of it, especially those Prakarana Granthas which have been written by Shankaracharya, they are very good introductions to the spirit of the Upanishads. I think you should go through Atma Bodh and Vivek Chudamani and Drigdrishya Vivek also. Today you find a whole lot of videos also on all this, so it makes it easy. Please do go through these introductory texts and then you will see these are the original mantras. They will make a lot of sense. Mataji, what are your suggestions on type of food one should eat? Very practical question. I think you should see the video Triguna theory which has been recently released. We have released Fundamentals of Yoga Psychology in 5 videos. It's all on eternal truth. You should go through it. The type of food you eat affects your mind. Okay, there's no question about this. You have to take care of the kind of food you eat. Now, what do we mean by sattvic food then? Which is the type of food which we should eat? You see, that food which is easily digests, which stays in your alimentary canal for the shortest period of time, so that you feel light after eating it, you feel good, you don't feel heavy and sluggish. That type of food obviously you should eat. Now, if you are a young muscular man who has a lot of physical work to do, maybe you can take more of protein, more of that kind of food which helps you build your muscles, because your work, maybe you are a sportsman, work can be of that kind. But for people who usually are doing yoga and all this, and students, sattvic food is best, which means a whole lot of food which has high water content, vegetables and fruits, of course dal, pulses, and carbohydrate. Take such a meal that you feel light after that, not too oily stuff and pickles and all that. No, that's all tamasic. Take that kind of food which will easily digest. Then you call it sattvic food, because you know what happens for people who lead an intense spiritual life. Let me cover only this point, because most of you are like that, I can understand. For sadhaks, what happens is you are maintaining your prana at a particular level. That's the whole point. Now, if you have to maintain it at the heart, if your mind is preoccupied with your stomach, with the process of digestion, you know, your prana gets disturbed. For that, you must put everything at rest, including the stomach, as quickly as possible. So after a meal, if you have your meal in such a way that the food is digested within an hour or 1.5 hours, or even shorter than that, then you feel fresh all the time. You will never feel sluggish and lazy and stupor. All this will not be there. You always feel fresh. Your vitality is simply blooming, you can say. So you must ensure that through your food. I have seen a whole lot of sadhaks being very particular about this, and this really works. Just giving in to rajasic food just for the sake of taste and all that. Study it and see. In the first class I told you there are levels of happiness. Which level you commit yourself to will decide the quality of your life. Then how do we get right vidya? So here I don't know exactly by vidya. If you are meaning knowledge, then you see today's your education, no matter what you are studying or what you have studied, it will give you all vidya about the external world, nothing about yourself, isn't it? Have you ever studied, maybe in class 2 or 3 you studied, you had 2 eyes and 2 ears. Anything other than that about yourself have you studied, I am asking you? You haven't. When people ask me, what is prana? Is there pranic energy within me? I really feel how insensitive we have become. It's like asking, is there awareness within me? So all this has happened because we have lost touch with our own being. We have never studied anything about ourselves, and we are experts at many other things about the external world. So the whole point is to get this vidya, to know yourself more completely and fully, you must turn a little to spiritual wisdom. This is the kind of vidya, that is why we are introducing so many important videos on YouTube and all these channels, for the simple reason there is so much of hunger. Even today's universities are asking for it. That it is so very important to focus on the self, so very important to focus on what the human being ultimately is, on mind management and such issues, rather than just manipulating the external world for our purposes. And what are those purposes? Mainly it is pleasure of the senses. So it is right vidya. When you use the word right vidya, hopefully I mean spiritual knowledge you are meaning. So for that you have to turn to a little spiritual knowledge. That is why we are bringing all this in. You can keep in touch through books, you can keep in touch through these videos, but bring some amount of this knowledge into your lives. This is very important. Then, Mataji, I need your holiness and blessing. So this is not a question. I need holiness. That's a beautiful idea. What you actually need is that you want the inspiration to come from within yourself. This is what everyone should actually need, isn't it? See, if you say, I need your holiness, what do I make of it? Whatever you are finding inspiring in me or in this class, try to awaken it within yourself. You perfectly have the power to do it, because I tell you, you are the self manifesting through this body-mind complex. Instead of paying just attention to this body and mind, go deeper into yourself. Go into your own conscious awareness. Deepen it through any technique, and you will understand that there is so much you can do with your equipment. So you see, what exactly we mean by holiness or purity is this: the ability to touch your essence. When that happens, the mind becomes very clear, the very brain becomes very clear, and the body also becomes bright. So it is important to see, don't take this as, well, somebody told me so I have to do it. This is the way a life becomes a complete life. The human life reaches its fulfillment. Until then, you will understand, until you actually take up yoga as a practice, you will understand you are a contracted something which was deeply in pain. When you take up the practice of all this, spiritual practice, you will see you have blossomed into something far bigger than you could have imagined. So, इसीलिए sadhana, spiritual practice, is the way to generate these inspirations from within yourself. Please stick to that, and then all our study will make a lot of sense to you. So I think these are the questions we had today. Time is up. Let me stop here. Next class will be the last class on Ishopanishad, and after that we will take up another Upanishad. I will end the class here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace.